the reporting of the Reuters news agency just seconds ago. According to a senior defense official, coalition airstrikes targeted pro-regime units operating in the vicinity of an airbase in the south of Syria after a show of force to try to stop the pro-regime forces was ignored. A coalition commander took the decision to hit pro-regime forces operating in a, quote, well-established deconfliction zone. The coalition commander assessed the threat, and afterward, shows of force did not stop the regime forces, and those forces refused to move out of this, quote, deconfliction zone. The commander on the ground called for an airstrike as a matter of force protection. The senior U.S. official has now told Fox News, quoting, "There is no change in policy," the official said. This is the first time, other than the Tomahawk strike on the airbase that gave U.S. warplanes have targeted pro-Assad forces. We expect a statement from the Pentagon at any moment. So in short, here's what's happened. You know that there are Syrian regime forces who have been murdering their own people in the middle of a Syrian war that's been underway for more than 6 years. Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria, is widely accused of war crimes and is suspected of killing hundreds of thousands of his own people. There is a deconfliction zone, a sort of safe space, an area that's protected by American and other forces. Pro-Syrian regime forces were in that area today. The United States, in essence, fired warning shots. Get out of this area now. The pro-Syrian regime forces, as the story goes to Fox News, would not comply. So American forces on the ground called in an airstrike, which meant U.S. forces, I presume at this moment, I am led to believe planes, drop ordnance of some sort on this area, on an attack on pro-Syrian forces on the ground, and now we wait to find out what has happened in the aftermath. Our national security correspondent, Jennifer Griffin, from the Pentagon, will be joining us in just a moment, I'm told. This news broke less than 10 minutes ago on the Reuters news service and has not been reported nationally by television operations, but we now have this confirmed. United States forces, United States weapons have struck inside Syria, in the south of Syria, in a deconfliction zone, as it's been described to me. Though the policy has not changed, according to this senior defense official speaking to Fox News, the policy remains the same. The facts on the ground are now quite different. In the past, the United States struck one time, excuse me, when President Trump ordered that there be a Tomahawk missile strike on a particular airfield, and that Tomahawk missile strike was meant to be sort of warning against the use of chemical weapons. It was our understanding at the time that the Syrians had launched helicopters that used chemical weapons through barrel bombs on their own people, that the president did this airstrike to warn the Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad not to conduct these sort of war crimes anymore. And though the words red line were not used, it was a warning certainly to the Syrians, stop with what is no doubt a war crime, no more use of chemicals. Since then and before then, the United States has not been directly involved with this Syrian civil war. Our forces are on the ground in various ways, but that is largely a matter of high security, and much of their activities are not known to the public for reasons which should be obvious to you, and for that matter, they aren't known to us either. But today, a new decision was made. There is this deconfliction zone in the south of Syria. Pro-Syrian forces had apparently entered it. We can presume that that meant danger to those who were in what was, prior to and up until that moment, a safe area, and U.S. forces on the ground called in airstrikes. What does this mean in the big picture? Well, sources tell us very specifically that the policy toward Syria, the policy toward the Syrian civil war, has not changed, but we've just taken new steps. The United States to drop ordnance on that area. We don't know if there were casualties. We don't know the specific target, but we do know that the goal was to get these pro-Syrian forces out of there. Now, remember, the United States does have a stake in this civil war. The Russians and the Iranians back the Syrian regime and its leader, Bashar al-Assad. The United States and a small coalition of Western powers and others throughout the region back these rebels who are fighting against the Syrian dictator and his forces. That's been the case. So do we have a stake in this? The United States certainly does and has. But our military, aside from the launching of the Tomahawk missiles, has not become involved in any way until this moment. Will this be a turning point? Will the United States, one of the concerns among those military analysts who watch these matters, former generals, former diplomats who watch these matters, have been concerned that the United States could be drawn into this civil war, that it could become a larger thing, obviously with Russia and Iran and Syria on one side, the United States, along with our proxies in the area, the Syrian rebels whom we've been supporting and others. There's always the question, it's very difficult to assess whether what has happened will draw us into something further. The hope is certainly that it will not, that there will be no retaliation, and we're waiting to find from Jennifer Griffin exactly what happened from there at the Pentagon. We're expecting a statement at any moment. And I should let you know